Haiti is in chaos today after the country's president was assassinated after gunmen stormed his home. His wife was seriously hurt in yesterday's attack outside the capital, Port-au-Prince. Haiti's police chief says officers killed 4 suspects. 2 others are under arrest. The interim prime minister says he remains in charge. The United Nations plans to meet today to try and keep an already volatile situation from getting out of control.
The assassins arrived in trucks after midnight, claiming to be agents of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. A U.S. government source told Reuters the DEA had nothing to do with the killing. The gunmen, reportedly speaking Spanish and English, descended on President Jovenel Moise's private residence and opened fire. The 53-year-old leader was killed. His wife, the First Lady, also shot, flown out of the country and brought to Miami. She remains in critical condition. By morning, bullet casings were seen on the grounds outside his home. Haitian ambassador to the United States, Brochit Edmond.
It seems that this horrible act was carried out by well-trained professional killers.
The international airport immediately shut down. The streets of Haiti empty save security forces that patrol the capital. On Wednesday, President Biden acknowledged the tenuous situation in the Caribbean.
We need a lot more information, but it's very worrisome about the state of Haiti.
Acting Prime Minister Claude Joseph declared a state of siege and asserted he was now in power. Moise was the president for 4 years, but over the last few months, opposing forces and protesters have been demanding he step down, with some accusing him of being a dictator. He held on to power past the end of his term this year and ruled by decree for nearly 2 years after the country failed to hold elections. I spoke to President Moise back in 2016 when Hurricane Matthew devastated the country shortly before he took power, when he said he was looking for Haiti to recover from its troubled past, where over half the population lives in poverty.
On peut dire presque 30 à 40% du pays, l'État n'est pas présent. Moi, je vais travailler pour que l'État soit présent à travers tout le pays.
Joining us now to discuss more is Haitian resident, business owner of Caribbean Craft, and advocate for artisans, Magalie Noel Dresse. Magalie, it's good to see you under such difficult circumstances. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, as you are well aware, President Moise had held office since February of 2017. Describe for our audience his time in office. How is he perceived by ordinary Haitians?
During his term, President Moise has had to face many challenges, and most of them, the most important one was his lack of popularity. The president has, the past 2 years, been very much unpopular, I would say, because of his way of governing the last year was highly criticized. The country had seen very dark days under his mandate, during which we witnessed a lot of murders, a lot of kidnapping, and increase of insecurity. And a very important fact to mention, the closing of many major companies due to instability, putting the economy of this country really down to its worst days. So the population had a very bad perception of the president. The majority have seen in him somebody who could not deliver his promises. However, he still presented himself as an advocate for the masses and has been, as he said, tried his best to overcome the barriers that would stop him to implement what he believed would help solve problems in Haiti.
And your business, in fact, had been burnt down last year because of political violence. Can you talk to us a little bit about the current situation in Haiti and how people are responding?
Today, this is a country that awakes again in shock. There's a stillness in the air. There's hardly anybody in the streets. The artisans are calling me, hoping that we could resume back to work soon, but it's impossible for us to predict what tomorrow is going to be like. Yes, our company was burned down in 2019 during political unrest, just like many other companies. Some were forced to shut down. Others survived, like me. We bounced back and tried to overcome these constraint. However, it's very difficult as the business environment, the entire business environment is not functioning well. It's a constant battle, it's a constant struggle to even get your goods shipped out as we are for export. And it's really difficult for us to even continue positioning ourselves on the international market because of the reputation that is built around all this political unrest.
Magalie, one of the things, besides providing for the economic security of its people, one of the most important roles a commander-in-chief has, a president has, is the safety and security of its citizens. And over the last couple of years, just with your own experience of your business being burned down, but we've seen videos, even, my family is from Haiti, videos of kidnappings of pastors and ministers happening in mid-sermon at a church where these individuals would be kidnapped. I wonder, what do people think about the fact that very few of those people who committed those kidnappings, who committed the acts of violence, who burned down your business and other businesses, have ever been brought to justice? What was the role of the president in bringing those perpetrators to justice or allowing it to ferment?
This is a very interesting question, because what really shocked us as entrepreneurs or as Haitian was the silence of the president around all of these crimes. He never had the word of comfort towards the population. It's like these acts were acceptable. Not too far ago, we had the mass murder in Delma 32. I'm sure images went around the world where 33 young women who was a strong activist against this government was shot dead, many bullets. And they pretended that it was linked to something that was random, but people in Haiti don't believe in this. The insecurity was so high in the country. People were afraid to leave their house to go home. They would fear for their lives to do basic activities, just like taking a bus going home, because most of the kidnappings were also were taking places in public buses. It reaches all levels of the society and everybody was exposed. Never we had seen the president speak about what happened or give us the hope that strong mechanisms were going to be put in place for us to not go through this in the near future.
You talked about how how unpopular he was. So as I understand it, he was also essentially sort of handpicked by the previous president. So you have two presidents with similar mandates. I'm just wondering how the people of Haiti are feeling now as they sort of look to the immediate future. And at this point, it seems uncertain. Is there a little bit of a sense of relief that perhaps this particular this president and the previous president, this particular agenda may be coming to an end now, or the uncertainty is creating fear?
The uncertainty is certainly creating more fear than anything else, because nobody is seeing the emergence of something new. What's happening, whether you were talking about the oppositions a year ago or the ones in power, for the population, they don't believe in any of them. These leaders have proven to the population that they were not in it to solve the nation's problem, but to serve their own interests. So what we're seeing all across Haiti now is people have a disconnect with the political leaders, where they don't identify or believe in anything that they've been saying for the past decades. So is there, for us here in Haiti or the majority of the population, are we seeing this as probably as a sign of an end of an era? No, because we don't even see at the end of the tunnel what is the light that is going to be shining on this country. We believe that there are so many meetings happening for the moment. The civil society is organizing, and there's a lot of groups joining forces to analyze how they could take this country out of this situation with a Haitian approach. And this is what gives me hope as an individual, as a Haitian citizen, and as a business owner, because we're seeing that there's that momentum happening on the ground where people are saying we need to get together and come up with a new solution for this country without rushing into any political election process that would put us again in jeopardy.
Magalie, before we wrap up, I think it's so important what you just said there, and I just want to ask you a follow-up question on that. A lot of people will watch this segment, and they will see you and they will know about the fact that you're a business owner, and you probably have, I'm speculating here a little, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably could have left Haiti, you probably could have moved here to New York or to Florida or anywhere else besides this country that many people who will only know the media narrative, which we hear over and over again, that Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, without realizing that the Haitian Revolution was a miracle in and of itself, the first independent black republic in the Western Hemisphere to defeat a superpower like France, who drew inspiration from the American Revolution, where Haitians fought alongside American colonists to defeat Great Britain, drew inspiration from the American Revolution and the French Revolution, and did something that the United States did not in 1801. They, in getting their independence from France, decreed that everybody in the country of Haiti was free, not just one race or another. And here we are 200 plus years later, and you find the country in turmoil yet again. Why have you stayed? What does it mean for you to be a Haitian?
Thank you so much for this question, because that's just, I mean, I have to answer that all the time. Yes, I did have the option to leave. And as a matter of fact, I did my studies in the United States in New York City and came back to Haiti after my second degree. The reason why I'm in Haiti is because I believe that this country is in this situation because too many of us are outside of this country, and too many of us have a disconnect with our hometown. It is time for us, for all of us who have had the chance to be educated, to travel around the world and have a different vision. It's time for us to work together to implement the change that is so much needed in Haiti. There's a big future. I believe that the future in Haiti will be beautifully written by the creative minds of its people in Haiti and across the world. I believe that it's our engagement, our commitment of us here on the ground and the diaspora that you are part of that will make Haiti shine again.
Magalie Noel Dresse, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Magalie.